Have you ever stopped to think about why the image of a tree feels so important? I mean, it's so much more than just a plant. It feels like a symbol that's somehow hardwired right into our DNA. Today, we're going to dive deep into that feeling. We're using the incredible work of Carl Jung as our guide to explore why this ancient, powerful symbol grows not just in the ground, but deep inside our own minds.
You know, it's fascinating. Jung starts his whole exploration with this exact quote from Goethe's Faust, and it is the perfect place for us to begin. What Goethe is telling us is that the tree isn't some dry, dusty, academic concept. It's a living, breathing process. It's a symbol for a journey of growth that we are all on. So we're not just analyzing an idea, we're trying to understand a vital living thing.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the strange and compelling evidence that started Jung on this path. Then we'll unpack his core theory, connected to the wild world of ancient alchemy, and see what this journey toward wholeness actually looks like. And yeah, that includes its dangers. Finally, we'll bring it all back to us, right here, today.
Okay, so our investigation doesn't start with a big theory. It starts with a puzzle, a mystery really. It starts with these strange, powerful drawings made by Jung's patients, everyday people who had no clue they were tapping into some of the oldest symbols in human history.
So check this out. One of Jung's patients drew this, a barren tree with flames at the end of its branches, growing right out of a woman's body. Now, here's the kicker. She had zero knowledge of medieval art, where this exact symbol actually appears. So you have to ask, where in the world did this image come from?
Or what about this one, from an 11-year-old boy, of all people? A huge, ancient tree, and it's being guarded by two massive dragons. This image just screams with echoes of myths from all over the world. You know, the serpent guarding the golden apples, or the dragon hoarding treasure. The symbol is basically telling us that the path to our deepest self, to that inner treasure, is a dangerous one. It's guarded by these powerful, primal forces.
And look at this. Here we see a theme that's going to become really important, the union of opposites. The tree is growing up into the air and down into the water at the exact same time, bridging these two separate worlds. And, just like the others, the person who drew this had no conscious idea they were illustrating a profound philosophical concept. So this all boils down to one huge central question, the mystery that really drove Jung's life work. Why were his patients, just ordinary people in the 20th century, spontaneously creating images that were identical to symbols from ancient myths and obscure alchemical books? It's a question that just blows the doors off conventional thinking. It demands a totally new kind of answer, one that has to go way beyond just personal experience. So how on earth do we solve this puzzle? Well, for that, we need to open up Jung's theoretical toolkit. These next couple of concepts are absolutely essential to making any sense of this forest of symbols we're seeing. The absolute foundation of Jung's thought is this idea of the collective unconscious. He proposed that beneath our own personal memories and experiences, there's a much deeper layer. It's a shared layer. Think of it like a psychic inheritance, a common blueprint of patterns and images that we all share simply by virtue of being human. It's the wellspring these universal symbols come from.
And the building blocks of this collective unconscious, they're called archetypes. Now, this is absolutely key. An archetype is not a specific learned image. It's an innate tendency, a predisposition to form certain kinds of motifs. So we don't inherit a picture of a tree, right? We inherit the potential to form the idea of a central, life-giving, world-defining tree. That's the difference.
All right, now that we have the basic theory down, let's see how it actually plays out in history. Because Jung found the most striking, the most mind-blowing parallels to his patient's drawings in a very, very unlikely place, the bizarre and highly symbolic world of medieval alchemy.
To get what the alchemists were doing, you kind of have to flip your modern brain upside down. Today, a scientist tries to remove their own feelings, their own psyche, to study a rock objectively. But for an alchemist, their own inner world was just as real and just as important as the rock itself. In fact, for them, the two were deeply, mysteriously connected.
See, for the alchemists, this philosophical tree wasn't a physical plant at all. It was a symbol for the growth of the soul. It was a living thing that contained body, soul, and spirit. And as this symbolic tree grew in their experiments, they believed a parallel transformation was happening inside of them, a journey leading to the legendary Philosopher's Stone, a symbol of ultimate wholeness.
So what's the connection here? What ties a modern patient's drawing to some obscure ancient text? Jung's argument was that they are both pointing to the exact same goal, a psychological process he called individuation. It's the lifelong journey of becoming a complete, integrated, whole person.
This quote from Jung is just brilliant. He often talked about the mandala, that circular symbol, as being like a snapshot of the self, or total psyche, a cross-section. But the tree, he says, is different. It's the self seen in profile. It's the self as a process of growth over time. It's got roots digging down into the past and branches reaching up toward the future. It's a dynamic journey, not a static state.
And the alchemists actually had a map for this journey, which they described using the language of color. It starts in the nigredo, the blackness, a descent into chaos confronting your own shadow. Then it moves to the albedo, a white stage of purification. After that comes the rubedo, a reddening, where opposites are united. And finally, you reach the goal, the lapis, the stone, a symbol for the whole, complete, and incorruptible self.
But, and this is a huge but, this journey is not some simple, feel-good walk in the park. Both the alchemists and Jung himself were crystal clear that when you start to confront the deep unconscious, you are dealing with fire. It comes with very real dangers.
I mean, the alchemists wrote about this stuff explicitly. They weren't shy about it. They warned of mental aberrations, of encountering a place of great terror. In modern psychological terms, the number one danger is that the raw, powerful energy of the unconscious can simply overwhelm your conscious ego. Another huge risk is what Jung called inflation, where you mistakenly identify your small personal ego with the vast archetypal power of the self. It's a classic pitfall.
So how did they face these terrifying forces? Not with force, not with willpower. They understood you could never conquer these psychic energies. The only defense was consciousness itself. As one text puts it, their key weapons were resignation to the power they were facing, combined with knowledge and understanding. You don't defeat the dragon, you learn to understand it.
Okay, so we've been digging through patient drawings and dusty alchemical texts. But what in the world does any of this have to do with you and me, right here, right now? Well, everything, actually.
Here we see a really crucial difference in psychological thinking. A more Freudian approach tends to look backward. It asks, what past trauma caused this symbol? But Jung's approach is forward-looking. He asks, what is the purpose of this symbol? Where is my psyche trying to lead me with this? For Jung, a symbol isn't just a symptom of the past, it's a seed for the future.
And this is why it all matters so much. Learning to speak this symbolic language, the language of our dreams, our fantasies, our art, is absolutely vital for our psychological health. When we encounter a symbol like the tree, our psyche could be showing us a path forward, a way to grow, a way to bridge our inner divisions and move from a state of conflict toward genuine wholeness.
And this whole difficult, beautiful journey is summed up perfectly by one of Jung's most powerful and probably most famous quotes. True psychological development, true enlightenment, it doesn't come from just thinking happy thoughts or imagining figures of light. It comes from the courageous and often very difficult work of confronting our own inner darkness and bringing it into the light of consciousness.
You see, the alchemists and Jung's patients, they weren't special. Our minds produce these powerful symbols too, all the time. In our dreams, our daydreams, the stories we love, our unconscious is constantly communicating with us. So the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. What symbols is your inner world creating? And what on earth might they be trying to grow?